Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tom Olsen. The name of the show is Olsen on Law, every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on News 96.5. My guest today is attorney Dennis Salvagio. He has had a 42-year career here in Orlando as a criminal defense attorney. You probably also know him as a fat guy, the Orlando Magic's #1 fan. And Dennis, we're going to invite the callers out there to call you if they have any legal question or any personal questions about your law career or your as a fan of the Magic. If you want to call right now, you can call 855-297-9696. Now, you know, one day I opened up this radio show and I invited the listeners to call me with any question they had, not only legal but personal. Question number one, Dennis, was, does Tom prefer boxers or briefs? Question number two is, Tom, how much money do you make? So I think, you know, I am opening it for personal calls for you because, yeah, you got a very well-known personal career, and I know the ladies love you. Even during the commercial break here, we had ladies calling up. They want to talk to you on the air. And, by the way, make sure you give a shout-out to your beautiful wife.
I sure will.
Okay.
She's great.
Yes.
She's listening in today, too.
Good. All right. Well, she knows about the ladies, you know. I mean, she knows they love you.
Oh, yeah, she does. Yes,
All
she
right.
does.
So, Dennis, you've been a lawyer for 42 years doing criminal defense attorney here. And so tell us about a case that's memorable to you.
Well, I think the most memorable case is the one where I represented this kid. I forget exactly how old he was. I think it was in adult court. And he had robbed a convenience store with a gun and had a person with him. And he wore a pink hat while he was doing it. Well, I thought I had no chance, and of course the judge basically told me he was going to give him the max. I had no choice but to go to trial. And the young man who robbed the store with him testified, and another witness testified to the pink hat. I was sure I was going to get a guilty, and the jury came back with a not guilty.
So how does that happen? I mean, how do we know it was him in the pink hat? Does he own a pink hat?
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know what happened in that case, but I certainly wasn't expecting a not guilty. And in fact, I remember, even though the jury came back and said not guilty, I moved for a new trial thinking that they had said guilty. And everybody around me started to look at me and yell at me and say, hey, Dennis, you won. You won, you won.
So just out of curiosity, criminal defense attorneys, do they ask their clients whether they're guilty or not? Or is that something you want to know or don't want to know?
Well, you know, they're never guilty until a jury says they're guilty or they plead. But if they've done the crime, yeah, I ask and they usually tell me. I think they tell me the truth because they wouldn't tell me what they told me if they didn't do it, of course. And I think they're pretty honest with me. And that's the best way to deal with your attorney, yes.
And so just out of curiosity for that, it sounded like he was a rather young client, a young man. How many years ago was this?
Well, Judge Cornelius was the judge, and Judge Cornelius left the bench about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I would guess.
Then, and by the way, have you ever had criminal defense clients that have you helped them one way or another, and they've come back to you years later and say, Dennis, thank you for putting me on the straight and narrow?
You know, on New Year's Day, I get phone calls from people who say, I've got another year dry, or I've got another symbol at AA.
Nice.
And that is so pleasing to me. And people call me sometimes and say that they're dry and that I had something to do with it. I think that's the greatest part of the greatest conclusion to any case.
Hey, Dennis, that must give you some very, 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 very great satisfaction. I'm happy for you.
It does, yeah.
Awesome. Hey, folks, my guest today is attorney Dennis Salvagio. He has had a 42-year career here in Orlando as a criminal defense attorney. He is also the fat guy known to the Orlando Magic. And, Dennis, you've been doing that since 1990. And
1989.
1989.
No, you're right. 1990. Yeah,
right.
First year, though.
We'll talk some more about that when we come back on the other side of the break.